So first step is always, with your list, with the people you have, getting in touch with people you have, working through your warm market. So the question would be, which one of these has better impact to you? I help people get out of debt, or I help people take control of their financial future. Now, I just want you to think about that for a moment. And maybe neither one of those speaks to you. Maybe you would have something else that you would want to say there. And let me let you know something. On our GoToMeeting, there is a question section there. And if you want to type in something, I'll try to respond while we're going, but we want to keep the training going. But in my world, what do you think, Steve? Take control of their future, or I help people get out of debt?
I think it's just, again, looking at what we do, we probably both would pick the same thing. I help people take control of their financial future. I mean, that would be me, but neither one of these is wrong. It's not. The thing is to say something that has to do with what you do.
Right, and you're saying this in a manner where you're not just telling them. Okay, I'll give you a great example. I used to love this. My brother was the vice president of Red Bull for about 4.5 years for the West Coast, for the entire West Coast division. So ran Hawaii and the entire West Coast. And when people would ask him what he did for a living, he'd say, I sell sports energy drinks. And when he was a divisional manager for Frito-Lay, he'd tell people that he sold potato chips. Now they're looking at a guy that's in a suit. He's obviously a businessman, and he's dressed like that, doing what he does, and he sells potato chips. Now I know that sounds ridiculous. So a 15-second commercial could be as simple as I sell freedom. You better be able to back that term up if you're going to use something that silly and that ridiculous. Because I remember my brother telling people, yeah, I sell potato chips. What do you mean you sell potato chips? And then that would open the conversation that he was actually a divisional director in marketing and, and things along those lines. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be, super mind. I don't want you sitting in your house, thinking hours and hours trying to come up with the perfect 15-second commercial. But think about maybe what worked with you the last time and practice your commercial with friends. Just come up with a rhythm of what it is that you do. I know when people ask me what I do for a living, I just tell people I'm a salesman. And they always look at me and they go, well, what do you sell? Well, that's a perfect open door. And depending on where I was in my career, now when they say, what do you sell? And I say, well, I manage sales forces is what I do now. But my sales force is deeply vested in helping people get out of debt, take control of their financial futures, and retire with dignity. Now, I haven't told them what I do. They don't know if I'm insurance. They don't know if I'm doing banking. They don't know if I'm accounting, tax. They've got no idea. But what they know is in my career, I've been a salesman. I now manage an entire sales force that helps people achieve. I used to tell people this one. This was my favorite one. If you need it, I can find it. That was my favorite line. What do you do for a living? If you need it, I can find it.
You know what else is a really kind of an easy, people sometimes tend to complicate things, and it's not really complicated. But see, well, what do you do for a living? I'm a national recruiter for a company called UFinancial Freedom. And stop.
Yep.
They didn't say, hey, what do you do for a living, and tell me all about it and get into the intricacies of it, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to leave some room there for them to ask another question to see if they're interested or not.
That's right.
Hey, I'm a national recruiter. Are you not? Is not everyone on this call tonight a national recruiter for UFinancial Freedom? Absolutely you are. I don't care what level you're at. You're a national recruiter for UFinancial Freedom, and you can talk to anybody. You can recruit anybody all across the country. You can build an organization. And then if they say, well, what do you do? Well, then you can have your lines set, whatever it might be. Well, I show people how to take control of their and manage their money. I show them how to get out of debt. I show them how to save tens of thousands of dollars in interest that they don't need to pay to the banks.
How the bank's taking advantage of them with the systems, how to utilize the systems that the banks are operating with to earn money now. Consumers, I mean, the list can go on and on and on and on and on.
And it's on the back office. I mean, there's a list of 100 different things that you can say at that, but you've opened the door.
Right.
So.
And so just keep that in mind. So think about something like this. We're just going to throw a couple at you here real quick. I have the best job in the world. I'm helping people take control of their finances and their futures, and I earn great money doing it part-time. Does that sound like something that would interest you? Now, listen, if you use this one, you better have been talking to them, or you're at some type of B&I meeting, where people are expecting you to be talking about business, because you're jumping right into a recruiting language here right now, and I earn great money doing it part-time. Does that sound like something that would interest you? So you're actually giving the door. They've given you a little bit of leeway before you're throwing this type of a statement out at them, because what you're looking for is if they respond favorably with something like this is, well, what about it interests you the most? The reason I'm showing you this is a format. It's kind of that make a statement and ask a question. Does that make sense to everybody on the call? Make a statement and then ask them a question. So this could be as easy as, I have the best job in the world. I'm helping people get out of debt. I have the best job in the world. I work with people every day and watch them turn their finances around. Now, depending on where you're in that conversation, that could be followed with, does that sound like something that would interest you? But what you're doing at the very beginning of this, that's always your end kind of 15-second commercial. I do this. Does that sound like it would interest you? That's kind of your formula, but you may be talking for 5 or 6 minutes before you get, does that sound like something that would interest you? Because you have to get their buy-in. Is that making sense to everyone? All right. You got anything?
And, we can always, you can always flip a saying. We always think that we have to get the person to say, for us to say what we like about what we do. Well, why don't you kind of flip it on them? And they say, if you're asking them, what do you do for a living? And they give you a response, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so. Isn't it just as easy for you to say, what is it about that particular profession that you like? See, now you're showing interest to them, and you're finding out, what is it about what they do that they like? Do they like the money? Do they like the time? Do they like, what is it that they like? Or you might find out, well, I don't really like my job that much. Boom. Either way they go, it doesn't matter. You got an opportunity to talk to that person and make some sense to them and start making them liking what you have to say even more and more and more.
Yep, because it's in line with them. Here's a couple that got thrown out on the comments section. I help people keep more of their hard-earned money. I like that one. I find money people don't even know they have. I'd like that one too. I do something that sounds too good to be true. Well, just remember, anything that you say, whatever comes out of your mouth, and I was having a conversation about this not just in sales, you better be able to back it up. So if you're using something like that that's shortened to the spot, shortened to the point, I love it. Remember another thing that we're dealing with, and somebody else just said this, we're dealing with their pride. When you start really getting down to it. So if you're more concerned about what's going on with them, more interested in what they're doing, it's called reciprocation, the law of reciprocation. Unless they're just a complete arrogant individual, we'll just say it that way. I was going to use another word, but probably not good.
Knucklehead.
Yeah, knucklehead. They may never ask you what you do and never care. They just want to tell you everything about themselves. And there's people like that out there, and some of those people actually are pretty good people to be on a team. But it's working through those people and figuring out who they are. So 15-second commercial examples. Let's go over here, and let's drop into another one here. All right, Steve, read this one off, and then tell me what your problem is with it.
This was from a friend of ours. He used, you kind of got to have a personality to be honest, but for those of you that might have it, I am in the parole business. Lenders and mortgage brokers have been handing out 15 to 30 and even 40-year sentences, and we, on the other hand, are paroling our clients in as little as 1/3 to 1/2 the time. Would you like to know more about how we do that? I mean, that's kind of a, look, you got to be strong to do some of these types of things, But there's a lot of different ways to talk to people, like get their attention. It might take a particular group of people or the kind of people that you're talking to. Maybe you're talking to a friend, or maybe you're talking to someone that you know, and you're able to really, in order to get their attention, you've almost got to kind of virtually, you don't actually physically do it, but you kind of slap them a little bit, right? I mean, you got to get their attention. And man, that gets, what, your parole visit? Oh, lenders and mortgage companies. Yeah, you know, mortgage companies have been giving out 15 and 30 and 40-year sentences. People are paying unbelievable amounts of interest. It's been incredible. I mean, people go broke paying interest. And what we do is we show people how to save a third to a half the time that they pay on their mortgages and put all those tens of thousands of dollars back in their pocket.
And see, this guy was a comedian by nature. It's just, his name was Chip Robinson. Many of you will know who he was. But the other thing about this is that with this, I saw a lot of people that he grabbed their attention. And so it's not for everybody, but we're just showing you how far, I guess, how far off base you can kind of go and still say something that will grab somebody's attention. And that's the whole idea. All right, so let's move on to our next examples here. Now, this is a formula that's been around for a while. I originally grabbed this, to be honest with you, from Dr. Joan Hackenstad. She teaches on the 15-second commercial pretty heavily, just because of the simple fact that it is that first introduction. How do people respond in those first few minutes? She uses a formula of, well, you know how, and you have a problem, and then, well, and you offer up a solution. Now, right now, we're not in an area where we're upside down in mortgages, okay? Now, there may be some areas in the United States, but most people aren't upside down. But it's the whole idea of the language. Well, you know how many people here in this location are upside down in their mortgages? Or what if you just said, well, you know how the housing market is booming. Property values are up. Now is the time to get your equity. We show people how to gain more equity in their home in the shortest time frame possible, given their best financial situation, okay? So it works in both areas, a down market or an up market, but I want you to think about that when you're thinking about 15-second commercials is, well, you know how, problem, well, solution.
You know, if you know what it is that we do, you know at the end of the day that we can take and help people pay off their debt. They can pay off their principal, thus paying off interest. If you know what we do, then really any question that comes at you or any conversation that you get into, the end result is that you have an answer for that particular problem when it comes to a debt situation. Right. Well, you know how most Americans are overpaying on their mortgages and other debt, usually in the form of interest? Well, I show people how to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pocket while they pay down their mortgages and other debt in a fraction of the time. Is that something you'd like to know about? How to keep more money in your pocket instead of maybe the financial institutions, and pay off your debts sooner and save all those tens of thousands of dollars? Is that something that would sound like it would be of interest to you? And they're almost in a situation they really can't. How do they say no? I mean, how does someone say no? I don't want to pay off my debt. No, I don't want to pay off my interest.
You know, one of the best little things I've ever heard anybody ever use was, what seems to be, financially, what seems to be your biggest challenge, or what do you, if you've been on that conversation about banks or whatever, is just this little simple phrase: what if I could show you a better way? That's number one. Or what if I could solve that for you? So when Steve says whatever, if you leave it wide open and you just leave it for them to talk and kind of fill in the blanks of what they're really looking for, maybe they are trying to save the money to go to college. Maybe they're trying to save the money to get a down payment on a home. Maybe they're overwrought with credit card debt. Maybe they haven't been on a vacation in 5 years. Maybe they're, whatever it is. And then just say to them, whatever that is they laid out there for you, well, what if I could help you find a solution to that? Or what if I could help you with that? Would it be worth 10 minutes of your time to sit down and talk to me about that, of trying to help you? This goes back to what I was saying. If you need it, I can help you find it. If you want it, I can find it. So if you want to get out of debt, we have a great way to do that. If you want to save the money for college, we got a great way to do that. If you want to, you see the segues. There's just so many different segues.
Well, you know how, the problem. Well, the solution. Well, you know how banks use banking strategies in order to make a huge profit? Well, I show people how to incorporate these strategies into their own financial world so the average person can make their money work 24/7. Now, folks, do you have to say this word for word? Not exactly. I mean, if you're on the phone and you want to put this right in front of you and you say word for word, it's going to be fine. You can use it word for word. But if you want to take it and practice and practice and practice it and get it into your own language, your own verbiage, you'll do that. It may end up being only about 8 words, 9 words instead of 15 or 20 words. But practice it and just make it where it's smooth. Don't try to be exact all the time. Be yourself. Be in your own voice. Well, let me ask you something, Mac. You know how banks use banking strategies in order to make huge profits for themselves?
Yep.
Well, I show people how to incorporate these same strategies, how to take those same strategies that they use in their own financial world so the average person can make their money work for them 24/7. Doesn't that sound like a better idea than the bank making money work for them, you making money work for you?
Yep. And so when you're saying these things, you're asking a question that most people don't want to seem ignorant, and then you're leaving them with a question after you've made a statement. Doesn't that sound reasonable to you? Does that sound like something that would interest you? But it could also be you just let that hit the floor. You know how banks have been using strategies to make great profits. They're the biggest building in every town. We show people how to incorporate these same strategies and use the banking systems to their advantage so their money can work 24/7. Well, if they don't want to know anything about that, if it doesn't matter to them, they'll say, so what kind of car do you drive? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or they may say, well, what does that look like? I mean, not those words exactly. Somebody might say that, but you know, what does that look like? What do you mean? That's what you do. Let's give you one. Let's give you another example here. Oh, I jumped. I think I jumped. There we go. There we go. Well, you know how most people spend most of their life in debt, paying on things like credit cards, auto loans, student loans, and even mortgages forever? Well, I show people how to beat the banks at their own game and pay off everything as quickly as possible. We show people how to use banking strategy. We show people how to beat the bank at their own game. We show people how to take all of that interest, the lion's share of the interest that you would pay on all of your debts, and reallocate that money by paying off your debt sooner so you free up that money. How would it be if you could free up the money right now to retire with dignity in the next 10, 15, 20 years? I mean, there's so many avenues to this 15-second commercial that I don't think you can really do it justice. I have a gentleman that came in and says to me, you know, hey, can you write some of these down and can you send me some of these? I have to be very honest with you. These are all recorded presentations, and the whole idea is trying some of these things out. And Steve, I think you made a great point last week. We're not telling you in the line at the bank or the grocery store you're going to get this conversation with somebody. We just want you to broaden your horizon and start trying to initiate conversation. I mean, Steve and I maybe just happen to be lucky as many years as we've spent. I've seen Steve and I start conversations anyway. Where that conversation is going to go, we really have no idea initially because we're trying to show more interest in that individual, but they throw either one of us any little kind of hook of what do you do for a living or why are you in town?
Man, where did you get those sunglasses from? Man, where did you get those shoes from?
Yeah, exactly. What's your
shirt? Man, where did you get that purse from?
What is that shirt? UFinancial. What's that hat you're wearing? What do you guys do? Are you guys from around here? Or you know, because we travel all the time. What are you doing in town? You know, there's people want to know who you are to some degree, but they want you to want to know who they are. And Steve said that earlier. It's the great conundrum. So if you invest those few minutes in the very beginning, it'll pay you back at the end. So
I will tell you what I do, Mac.
Yeah.
And this is, listen, I'm not telling you anything
No, I
that's
know.
not the truth.
I know.
I'm telling these people this.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, on the call.
I know you always tell the truth.
So I'm not telling you something that I don't try or we don't say, because we learned these things. Listen, I promise you, I've been many a mall walking around talking to people in grocery store. I've done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times when I didn't want to. To this day, when I don't really have to be honest with you, I'm a chief marketing officer. I don't have to do it, but I like recruiting and talking to people. Sometimes when I go to the grocery store, I'll go into the line and I'll say, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. And I challenge myself to say, I'm going to talk to that person. I'm going to ask them something. What are they doing? What do they got in their basket? What are they putting up there? Let me see what kind of food they got. See, they got a couple of kids. Let me see what, and then I'll ask them a question in a friendly way. Maybe it leads nowhere. But you know what it does? It keeps me in tune. It helps to make me better. So it doesn't really matter. Just sometimes you got to challenge yourself to be better and to utilize those particular strategies, okay? So those are some things that you might want to take in consideration as well, is no matter who you are, no matter what level you are, no matter what you do, you can always be out recruiting, and building. If you feel like you've got enough recruits, well, then help your people recruit. Go recruit some more people and give them to them. It'll only make you more money.
Yeah, and it's, I know for a lot of the old hats on here, a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, man, I know all this. But if you saw the comments from some of the new people that are coming in, this is such great information.
Yeah, you'd be making a lot of money too. So.
I am grateful. I want you all to understand this. Our business is a business of repetition. I don't know any other way to say that. Now, what I mean by that is repeating the basics over and over and over again, making a name list, recruiting on purpose, talking to everybody within that 3-foot rule, always trying to be affable, having a smile, trying to, look professional in your attire and all of this. It is a repetitive business, and that can beat people into the ground. But I'm telling you, once you get it down and you get these little commercials, like somebody wrote in here, I just want to share this, but people say no all the time. Is it us or our language? And I really have to say this. I don't know that it's either, because I haven't heard what you're saying, but people say no to me all the time. If you listen to Dave Senior, when he was talking about all the people he recruited back in April and May, he said, what did he go through, 398 people?
Not much.
It was like 400 people to get, I think it was 61 recruits or 70 recruits, but when he looked at it that way and broke it down, it was equitable, the amount of contact that he made for the number of recruits that he received when he broke it down per contact to get a recruit, per contact to get a recruit in the sale. So what we want you to really grasp when we're going through these, we're trying to give you some good ideas of how you can position yourself, some shorties or banking strategist, debt buster, interest cancellation expert. We move into debt to wealth expert. I show people how to transform their debt into wealth. I help people take control of their financial future. I'm a teacher. I'm an auto mechanic. I'm an IT professional, but my passion is being a debt buster, being a banking strategist, being an interest cancellation expert, helping people get out of debt, helping people realize their future, helping people find money they didn't even know they had, helping people produce a strong balance sheet. I mean, the list goes on and on. Get creative, have fun, give enough to get people curious, but not enough so that you just talk them out of wanting any more information whatsoever. I used to have a question when they come back and go, wow, that sounds interesting to me. Tell me a little bit more about that. I used to tell people, are you serious or are you curious? And the reactions I get from a lot of people, because they weren't prepared for that, is, well, I guess right now I'm just curious. I guess I'm just curious. Well, now depending on the person, you can say all kinds of things like curiosity kills a cat, you know that, and then you get a laugh out of them, and now you're moving forward. Or I'm dead serious. I'd love to know about that. I'm in, and then they'll unload a situation on you. Here's the thing I can tell you the most. Sales is organic. So the more that you know these little phrases, and the more that you have 3 or 4 or 5 prepared little 15-second commercials, the more that you understand the language of the product and how the process operates, the more you understand the process, the more effective you're going to be. But I have to tell you this. Get out of the library, because you're not going to sell anything in the library. Reviewing these recordings, listening to, use this as your study time, but you have to have, Steve said it last week, daily activity to enrich your business, and some of that activity has to be getting out of your comfort zone. Like Steve said, stepping into that environment when I'm getting out of the car, walking in and saying, I'm going to stretch myself, and whoever's in line in front of me, I'm going to start a conversation with them.
I think this is a good, I want to go back for just a minute, because I think this is a really good question that somebody asked. And they said, you know, is it what I'm saying or how I'm saying it, or, you know, what is it that I get a lot of no's, and is it what I'm saying? Is it how I'm saying it? Well, let me share something that I learned a long time ago. Okay, and I don't know whether it'll help you or not, but let me share this with you. Let's say that you came up to me and said, "Steve, would you like a cup of coffee?" And I would say, "I don't want a cup of coffee from you." Or if you came up to me and asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee, and I said, "No, thank you, I don't." You're going to be offended by one of those, aren't you? You're going to be offended by the one where I came back and I said, "No, I don't want a cup of coffee from you." Let me ask you a real question. I want all of you to really think about this. How many people talk back to you like that? People, I hope people don't talk back to you like that. You need to change the area you live in or something. People they're not going to bite your head off. They're not going to come back rude like that. They're not going to come back. We put preconceived ideas and things in our mind that prevent us from having success, and we won't even open our mouth because we're too scared. Because you know what, if I ask that person if they want a cup of coffee, they're going to say, "I don't want one from you." And they're not. They're not going to say that. So get those things out of your mind. You're going to get some no's. Yes, that's going to happen. That's just the nature of the beast. It's just one of those things. It's what you do. Listen, if you want to, you can go out there and bust rocks 24/7 if you want to, if that'll make you rich. Because nobody's going to tell you no on busting rocks. But if you want to make a lot of money and make it easy one day and have overrides coming in and making bonuses and maybe making $50,000 to $100,000, $200,000 a month, and you're making the big money, and you got to take some no's, do you want to bust rocks or take no's?
Yep.
You know, so people aren't going to bite your head off. They aren't going to say the wrong things. Just talk to people, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and you're going to be great at it one day.
There's one other thing I would just add to that. Don't really have an agenda initially in the conversation with somebody, you know, because I am seeing what is the vibe I'm putting off. You know, I don't know. But yeah, you could be too pushy. People could be too pushy. Just
be nice.
Yeah, just be nice and affable and start a conversation. If it leads somewhere, great. If it doesn't, shake the elbow. Wow, that's why we even have to say that. Elbow, knuckle bump, whatever you're doing nowadays. I still love shaking hands. It kind of freaks people out nowadays, especially when they're standing there trying to elbow me and I reach in and grab their hand. It's almost, true sales is almost being a student of the human condition. You just have to feel the person out and get a good feeling for where you're going. There's some people that could care less what you have to offer in the environment that they're in right then. They might be more interested in what you like to do, a hobby or something. But you have to have some framework to be able to work into this, and that's where these 15-second commercials come in, is to try to open that door, is to try to encourage conversation, that has a point, that is headed in a certain direction, without it coming to the point of ignoring what the client need is.
You ever go someplace and you go back to that same place because the person was nice, the person was pleasant? You go back to the same store where you know I could get a little bit bigger discount if I go to another store, but I really like that person. Or you go to a restaurant, you know, you want to go over here and eat? Let's go over here. And it's because the person makes a difference. You know how you're going to get treated. Aren't we human like that? And that's what Mac's kind of talking about. Aren't we human in that we react to people who treat us in a kind nature? And if that's the case, if we go back to places and places of business and do business with people that are kind and that are nice and that come across that way, then what should you become? Shouldn't you become that person? Shouldn't you be the chameleon? See, being the chameleon means you change. You change colors. You change to the person that others want to be around, that you can be pleasant to be around. That's the kind of person that you need to be. And that doesn't mean you're going to be fake, because if you're not a nice person, then I don't want to be around you. I want to be around nice people who are pleasant and nice to deal with. You say thank you and, hey, I appreciate it, and, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? Does that make sense? Isn't that the kind of person you want to be around? Well, let's us be that kind of person at the same time, and we'll get more business and more prospects that way.
Yep. And when we move on into this process, friends and family, let me tell you something. This is something I learned. Oh, I learned this the hard way. If there is anyone that you take through an exact process and you do not shortcut, it is your friends and family. Because your friends and family are always the ones that will come out and say, well, just tell me what it is. Well, just tell me what you do. Remember also, friends and family, if you've been in multi-level for many years and been in multiple multi-levels, or you have a habit of moving jobs 3 to 4 years, credibility amongst family and friends is always, something that we have to deal with. I know I was unable of selling my father because my father knows that when I was a little boy, I lied about breaking a plate glass window and said it was my brother that did that, and watched him get spanked over it, and my dad didn't know that I was the one that broke it until I was 21 years of age and told him. So just remember, they know your past, they know everything about you, and they love you. But many times when approaching family and friends, I'm telling you this right now, a third party is the best you can have. I'm learning this, I'm new at this. I really love this, but I'm not an expert at it yet. I'd like you to listen to this, get your eyes on it, see what you think of this. I respect and value your opinion. These are all great ways to get in with the family and friend, and it's kind of a back door. I'm looking at this as a business opportunity. I really want to get involved. I'd love you to take a look at it with me and just give me your opinion. Give me what it looks like for you. But at these events, what have you been up to? People that you haven't connected with. Ask how you're doing. I'm in the best possibly I could be. I found something that's changing our lives. I found something I'm really excited about. I found something that's helping people in my community. I found something that I'm highly active in. And then ask them the same thing. How are you doing? What have you been up to? And let them go, and back and forth and back. So it's organic, because especially with family, you never know where a conversation is going to go with family. You could have butt hurt somebody 5 years ago, and it comes up in the middle of the conversation, and you're talking about fishing. Family's a wild card, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, most of the time.
And some of you are going to have great. Some of you are going to have great success and great experiences with your family, depending on, how they view you. But just know that with family and friends, that's always going to be some of your hardest unless they look to you for financial advice. Family and friends, get a third party on the line, do the three-way call, split the sale, because at the end of the day, if you truly, believe in the product, yeah, we're about making an income with this. But if it's family and friends, you're more about getting them on the program because it's the right thing for them and it'll help them. And if you've got to split that sale to get the point across. I think that's a pretty equitable position. Many of you know this, and Steve, anybody that's been in sales, most people that have been on this call, it's F.O.R.M. When you call from your list, and if you're brand new to this, please call with a certified trainer, your upline, somebody that's plugging you in a program. If you've been recruited into this, whoever recruited you should have a plug-and-play program they can put you into of where you get your training, what your first step is, your second step, third step, get you making money in your first 45 days of being in business. That's our goal with everybody. But here's just something that we always talk about, and this is just a great way to start a conversation. So you're that individual, whether around family and friends, whether it's somebody you haven't talked to for a while on the phone, whether it's a phone call, whether you're in the grocery line. It's a great way to show somebody that you're interested. You know, so Steve, do you have a family?
Yeah, sure do.
How many kids?
I've got about 8.
Really?
Yeah.
You must have started pretty early.
I did, like 10.
That's why you look so young now. And so your family, they live around you now? And
yeah, I have a couple of kids that they're kind of all over the country a little bit. A couple live here, but they're most of them are in other parts of the country.
Yeah. You got married? Someone married?
Yeah.
Grandkids?
3/4 of them are married, and yeah, I got quite a few grandkids. You know, that addition turns into multiplication, and got quite a few grandkids.
Okay, now you saw how easy and generic that was. Now, he didn't care anything about me. He just wanted to tell me about his family, and that's okay. I'm just trying to give you both sides of this. So if I didn't know Steve, you know, I'd let him talk for a while, and if he didn't ask me, are you married, do you have kids, is there anything, I would move on to this. So, all right, so you got a family all over the country. What do you do for a living, man?
You know, I'm in sales, and I do I sell steel.
I sell steel.
Steel.
Yeah.
Like the steel
I know, yeah, like for the steel.
Yeah, big steel buildings and stuff like that. Yeah.
You sell steel.
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long you been doing that?
Oh my goodness, like about 25 years, I guess.
Wow, you must love steel.
No, not really. It's something I know, and you know, you kind of get used to it, and you get up in the morning, and it's just what you do.
You ever thought about making a change?
Yeah, I've thought about it many times, making a change.
If you were, what would you think of?
I don't know. You know, I'm so used to sales, and I really do like sales. I like people. You know, something to do with sales. Probably something to make me a little bit more money. I mean, I make pretty decent money now, but you know, something I could be happy with, and then maybe make me a little bit more money.
What kind of money are you making now?
I'm making about between 100 and 110,000 a year.
Well, you know, I work for a national organization, and I'm actually a recruiter for that organization.
Are you?
Yeah. And we've been looking for people, and you say you've got sales experience the last 20 years?
Yeah, 25 years in sales experience. Kind of did a little bit before that, but, you know, solid 25
You must know a lot of people.
Oh, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Would you want to maybe sit down and take a meeting and look at what I do, just take a glance at it?
Man, you never know. You know, I'm the kind of person that believes in, look, listen to an opportunity. You never know what might hit. Sure, we can have a cup of coffee or something. I'll be glad to sit down and chat with you.
See, now I'm taking a very soft route there, and I know there's people out there on the call that are saying, man, you should have just hit him. You should have just said, let's make an appointment. No, because sometimes that isn't what it is. Sometimes you got to feel out that person. Now, if Steve was looking at me and telling me, you know what, I got to find another job because I'm just sick of doing steel, I said, Steve, listen, man, let's not waste any time. Can you make some time tomorrow night? I recruit for a national organization. I don't know if it would be a great fit for you. You're not coming over to a meeting with a bunch of people at my house. You can sit down with me and we'll go over what I do for a living, and I'll show you what I do and how you would be able to do the same thing. And let's set that meeting for tomorrow night. So I don't want you to think that you always got to be weak, but I don't want you to think that you always got to be strong. And we're running. out of time here. I really enjoyed this session. I hope you all got a lot out of this because we wanted to make this organic for you. With your excitement level and when you're dealing with your clients, try to be calm. Okay, so next week what we're going to talk about is your personal borrowed story. And so most people will ask, what is it? Be prepared for this too, you know, once you tell them what you do for a living. I've always said use videos to explain it. I would never try to explain this product verbally. The Money Max Account program is a web-based financial GPS. It looks at income, debt, monthly expenses, mathematically determines fastest way for you to convert your debt into wealth given your unique financial situation. For example, next week, I believe it's personal borrowed story. We may be doing something else next week, but we'll have an email going out. And that's where you relate your story or one of your clients' stories because we do know something, and that is that stories sell, facts tell. We're able to do this without refinancing, monthly payments, no change to our budget. This is where we're really starting to get into it. This is where your story, we're leaving the 15-second commercial and moving into this. Would you like to see if you qualify? Then continue the conversation with questions. Truly listen to your prospects. We're just going to go through this. You all know this. Just be observant. And here's our summary. Create your list of people that you know. Pick up the phone. That's the best thing we can tell you. Create your list of people you know and pick up the phone. Prospect on purpose and prospect everywhere. Have 2 to 3 different commercials ready to start the conversation. Engaging, concise. Be confident, good eye contact. Solid handshake, fist bump, elbow. Practice with friends and family. Friends and family. I said fins, didn't I? Listen and observe. Now, there could be some sharks in the water, so practice with fins, friends, and family. Listen and observe. Everyone you meet goes in your database, goes in your cell phone. You take every contact you can possibly get because you never know. And then what do we say in every training? Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Steve, do you have any closing words for our panel?
The only thing I want to do, I want to take about 15 seconds. Folks, thank you for sending us your business. We had a really good June. We appreciate your business. This is the last night of June. Let's go blow it out. Let's do everything that we can to get this wrapped up. Let's get June behind us. Let's make July the greatest month in UFF history. Let's make it the absolute most greatest month. Mac and I want to challenge you to go out there, recruit more people, close more deals. Let's really challenge ourselves this month for you to go out there and make a tremendous amount of money. Go see some people, recruit them in the business, and do some great things. Let's all do something great this month. Thank you for being on the call. We really appreciate it.
From Steve and Mac, let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right. But at the very least, let's get out there and do something right now. This is Steve and Mac saying bye-bye for now.